Jimmy Spencer.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I had no idea you harbored so many feelings about Jimmy.
Steele is I don't care. He ain't never coming on the show.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben Schneider. And if there's one form of entertainment that's really taken off over the last couple of years, it's the podcast. Podcasts are seriously great. I even have one of my own, which I should keep up with doing way more often than I have been because they're a lot of fun. But it's no secret that one of the most popular podcasts in NASCAR is the one hosted by one of the most popular drivers in NASCAR. Well, former drivers at least. I'm talking about the Dale Jr. Download. The Dale Jr. Download is the podcast I've been keeping up with most these days. And Jr.'s recent guest, Jimmy Spencer, is probably one of the most highly anticipated and requested guests ever. Jr. infamously said he'd never be on the show due to his 2001 Pepsi 400 comments, but evidently had a change of heart this year, as he welcomed Spencer into the studio for a conversation that had to be split across 2 episodes. But it got me thinking, who else should Dale Jr. have on his show? Who would be some of the other top requested guests who could provide great conversation, give great insight, and help tell great stories? I came up with a list and I'm here to share that list with you all today. Keep in mind, this is just my personal list. It's by no means the right list. It's just who I'd personally like to see on the podcast. And I'd love to see your own suggestions in the comments. So with that, let's get into it. Number 25, Sam Hornish Jr. Hornish is someone whose career I've followed since the tail end of his IndyCar days. And I think Penske made the same mistake a lot of owners made during the mid to late 2000s by bringing him into Cup way too early. I would have liked to have seen him spend more time in what was then the Busch and the Nationwide Series. While he never finished better than 4th in a Cup race, he had a lot of success in Xfinity, and ended his career in 2017 by finishing 2nd at Homestead, clinching the Owners' Championship for Penske that season. It's been a few years since we've heard from Hornish, so I'd love to hear what he's been up to, as well as the challenges that come with moving from IndyCar to stock cars. Much like number 24 on this list, Dario Franchitti. Dario also has the insight of just how challenging it is to transition from open wheel into NASCAR. But Dario also has the experience of having the end of his career affected by injury, not much unlike Dale Jr. He also raced in both kart and the IRL during the split, and is one of only a handful of drivers to win 3 Indy 500s. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for good stories and conversation there. Number 23, Marcus Ambrose. Ambrose was another driver that I would have enjoyed seeing in NASCAR for a little bit longer. With no disrespect to JTG Doherty or Richard Petty Motorsports, I've always imagined what Ambrose could have accomplished if he had gotten an opportunity with a team like Penske, Hendrick, or Gibbs. Ambrose had a lot of success in Australian V8 supercars, where he won multiple championships before his NASCAR career, and also returned briefly in 2015 with DGR Team Penske. Much like Hornish, he's a driver I remember from my childhood that we haven't heard much of recently, and it would be fun to hear what he's been up to in recent years. Number 22, Austin Dillon. Dillon's obviously still racing, and he's had a career so far that's seen modest success. 2 of his 3 Cup wins are in Crown Jewel races, and he's the only active Cup driver with championships in both Xfinity and trucks. But beyond that, there's an obvious connection Dillon has to the Earnhardt family, and that's his car number. What was it like for Dale Jr. seeing the 3-car return in the Cup Series? And what does Austin remember about being in victory lane with Dale Sr. at the 1998 Daytona 500? There'd definitely be no shortage of things for the 2 of them to talk about. Number 21, Bernard Pollard Jr. As an NFL player, this one's a little bit different, but hey, Jr. just had Brandon Marshall on his show, so why not? Pollard is a former Super Bowl champion with the Baltimore Ravens, and if you're active on Twitter, you probably know that he's become a huge NASCAR fan over the last year or so. He spent much of last summer asking questions about NASCAR's rules and regulations, and believe me, there are way too many of those. He's been on the Download sister podcast Door Bumper Clear a couple of times. He still uploads race reactions.
Go! Let's go! Let's go! I just said, let's go! I just said something that happened. Oh my gosh! What? I just said something happened.
And he's even picked up iRacing, embracing the nickname The Black Dale Jr. Come on now, Jr.'s gotta have him on the show at some point, right? Number 20, Ron Fellows. Fellows was one of the best road course ringers in NASCAR history, and Jr. even credits Fellows with being a mentor to him on the road courses. Of his 25 career Cup starts, 24 came at either Sonoma or Watkins Glen. His lone oval start was at New Hampshire in 1998. His Xfinity career includes a total of 4 wins, one of which came for Junior Motorsports. He also ran several Cup races for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, including the 2004 Cup race at the Glen, where he finished second. He's even a class winner at Le Mans. So not only does Ron's career have multiple connections to Dale Jr.'s, his career also gives him no shortage of stories to tell. Number 19, Kasey Kahne. The way Kasey's career ended is really a shame. Hendrick wanted him so badly that he was signed for the 2012 season before the 2010 season even ended. His career is filled with plenty of highlights, including a memorable win in the 2017 Brickyard 400. Kahne retired in the latter part of the 2018 season for health reasons, but he's continued to stay active as both an owner and driver in World of Outlaws sprint car racing. I think it would be fun for Dale to catch up with his former teammate, and for fans to hear how Kasey's doing now that he's a few years removed from NASCAR. Number 18, Ryan Newman. Newman's been in NASCAR almost as long as Dale Jr. has. He's been a huge advocate for safety in the sport, and you can make a very good case that the Newman bar saved his life at the Daytona 500 last year. I know people like hearing from drivers who we haven't seen at the track in a while, but I do think you have to have some active drivers from within the Cup Series on the show every now and then. Newman's been around a while, and he even drove some nationwide races for Junior. Why not him? Number 17, Jimmie Johnson. I know Jimmy's already been on the podcast a couple of times, but to say the least, a lot has happened since his last appearance. Jimmy's an IndyCar driver now, and it's no secret that a lot of people in the NASCAR industry have been closely keeping up with his progress this season. And with rumors starting to circulate that Johnson could be interested in running the Indy 500 next year, I think Jimmy will be due by then for another appearance on the show. Junior's had plenty of repeat guests on his podcast before, and I've got a feeling he's going to want to talk to Jimmy about this whole experience at some point. Number 16, Carl Edwards. Do I even need to explain this one? By the time he abruptly retired, Carl was one of only a few drivers who wasn't active on any social media platform. Not that there's anything wrong with that, quite the opposite. I admire people who don't get sucked into the online bickering that happens every day on Twitter and Instagram. But it does leave a lot of us wondering how Carl's doing these days. We still see him give interviews from time to time, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who would love to see him go in depth with Dale Jr. on the download. Number 15, Scott Pruitt. Scott's a guy we haven't seen in NASCAR since 2008, but his racing career spans multiple decades. He's an overall winner of the 24 Hours of Daytona and 12 Hours of Sebring, class winner at Le Mans with Corvette, former winner in kart, and even competed full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2000. Scott's a fan favorite among many, and with a career like that spanned across so many different series and disciplines, it would be fun to hear him reflect on his time in the sport. Number 14, Brad Daugherty. Most fans today probably know Brad as the co-owner of JTG Daugherty Racing, as well as his TV work for ESPN, NBC Sports, and now the new SRX series on CBS. But what younger fans may not realize is that Brad has been a NASCAR fan for much longer. In fact, the reason he wore number 43 in his basketball career was to honor Richard Petty. He also covered basketball for ESPN after they lost the NASCAR rights, and he has the most points of anyone in Cleveland Cavaliers history not named LeBron James. But how exactly did Brad get his start in NASCAR? And how did he get to be such a big fan? Number 13, Danica Patrick. Like many others on this list, Danica has the connection of having driven for Dale Jr. in her nationwide career. But that's just a small part of her story in the world of motorsports. Say what you will about her NASCAR Cup career, but Danica is still the benchmark for women in both IndyCar and NASCAR racing, leading laps at both the Indy 500 and Daytona 500, winning an IndyCar race, and accumulating nearly 200 starts in the Cup Series. Now that she's been retired for a few years, it would be interesting to hear her own perspective on her career. I've always thought that she could have been a winner in the Xfinity Series had she stayed with Junior Motorsports a couple more years. And Kelly Earnhardt Miller even said on the Download episode with Haley Deegan that she wished Danica had stayed with the team for a bit longer.
I think that's really smart of you, too, to take as many years as you need. I wish Danica would have stayed with us another full Xfinity year. You know, she was here 2 half seasons, essentially, while she was running Indy cars, and then only 1 season with us. And, you know, I think if she could have had she was improving and she could have got some wins under her belt in the Xfinity Series, that would have helped her when she moved to the Cup Series.
Plus, Danica's had Dale on her podcast, so it was only fitting that he return the favor and invite her onto the Download as a guest. Number 12, Juan Pablo Montoya. Juan's career in motorsports involves a little bit of everything. It's been 7 years now since NASCAR fans last saw him, making his final NASCAR starts for Penske in 2014. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to Montoya, including time in kart, Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, and sports cars. But what drew him to NASCAR? What did Penske offer him in 2014 that made a return to IndyCar so appealing? And does he have Triple Crown ambitions? I mean, he is driving an LMP2 car at Le Mans next month. Number 11, Lee Diffie. Lee is one of my favorite play-by-play announcers, not just in motorsports, but all sports. Lee's seen it all, covering virtually every major international motorsport event there is. And he's even done a handful of NASCAR races as well.
Kyle Larson coming to the line with Truex chasing, will win his third time in a row here in Michigan.
As someone who's gotten the opportunity to work everything from Formula One to golf to track and field to multiple events at the Olympic Games, Diffie would certainly make for a great download guest. And he shouldn't be that difficult to get on the show considering he and Dale Jr. are technically co-workers. Number 10, Alexander Rossi. This one's really just a personal addition to the list for me. I've been a Rossi fan since before he made his 5 Formula One starts with Manor, and I do think he has a lot of great stories to tell. He's the most recent American to race in F1, won the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500, and has evolved into a genuine weekly contender in the IndyCar Series. Well, okay, maybe not this season, but still, he's proven by now that the 500 win was no fluke. He brings an incredibly unique perspective as an American who left this country to pursue an F1 career, came back to race in IndyCar when things didn't work out, and has come to embrace the series as his home. Plus, would he ever be interested in running a stock car on a road course? Number 9, Mario Andretti. Again, this is another one I don't think I even need to explain. The Andretti name is synonymous with racing, and there's very little Mario's never accomplished. He's an Indy 500 winner, Daytona 500 winner, 12 hours of Sebring winner, 24 hours of Daytona winner, 24 hours of Le Mans class winner, and on top of all that, he's a Formula One world champion. And that only scratches the surface of a legacy he's left in motorsports. Once again, you'd probably end up getting a two-parter here. Number 8, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan entered the world of NASCAR ownership this season with his longtime business partner Denny Hamlin to field a new team for Bubba Wallace. But like Brad Doherty, Jordan's been a race fan for much longer than just the last year or so.
People don't realize you've been a big NASCAR fan for a long time.
I grew up in NASCAR. My father used to pack the whole family in.
I'd love to hear straight from MJ on his experience in the sport so far as an owner. And it goes without saying that he had a pretty memorable basketball career too. Junior's even interviewed him before, albeit the interview was much briefer than a download appearance. Let's get MJ into the Dirty Mo studio for an extended conversation. Number 7, Helio Castroneves. Helio is one of the most popular drivers in motorsports today. If you need proof of that, look no further than this year's Indy 500.
Welcome to the four-time club, Helio Castroneves!
Not only would this be a fan-favorite episode, but it would be very timely too. Helio just won his 4th 500, and also won the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year with Wayne Taylor Racing. With Helio's personality, you can be sure this will be a popular episode. Who knows, maybe Helio could even convince Junior to give Dancing with the Stars a try. Number 6, Scott Wimmer.
Bob, do you miss Scott Wimmer as much as I do?
Maybe not as much as you do, but a little bit.
Okay,
I mean, he was fun.
Contrary to popular belief, Isaac is not the last Scott Wimmer fan. Scott was one of my favorite nationwide drivers growing up, and we're going on 10 years since his last NASCAR start. I'm only old enough to remember one of Scott's 6 Xfinity Series wins, but I've always been fascinated by his career. Plus, a more common theme on this list than you might think, Scott drove for Junior Motorsports towards the end of his NASCAR career. It'd be nice to hear what he's been up to. And by the way, if you're a diecast collector, give Isaac a follow on social media and check out his YouTube channel as well. Number 5, Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel loves America and America seems to love him back. Like Helio, Daniel is one of the more popular drivers in his series, who has an outstanding personality. But what makes the connection between him and Dale Jr. special is Daniel's use of a number 3. Jr. became a Ricciardo fan largely because Daniel uses the number 3 as a tribute to Dale Sr. And according to Jr., he's got an open offer to run a Junior Motorsports car on a road course at any time. An active F1 driver might be a tough ask, but you never know. Jr. sat down with Jeff Gordon in December one off-season, so I'm sure they could find a way to make it work. Number 4, Marcus Lemonis. Over the last couple of years, Lemonis has doubled down on his efforts to build the Gander, Good Sam, and of course Camping World brands through NASCAR sponsorship.
So, the business, when I first created a relationship with NASCAR for Camping World, it was about $1 billion company, and today it's a $4 billion company. And so our goal is, if we treat the fans right, if we treat the customers right, which is the most important thing, will it help us propel the Gander business to the next level as well?
His philanthropy is nothing short of incredible, to the point where he sponsored every single unsponsored truck at Las Vegas this year, and worked with countless drivers and teams to help them activate meaningful partnerships and give them marketing lessons that could lead to future opportunities. Just take a look at Brandon Brown to see what I mean. Combine all of this with the stories Lemonis could tell of building his own businesses and helping save the businesses of others, there's definitely no shortage of conversation here. Dare I say it, this might be another one that has enough for 2 parts. Number 3, Matt Kaulig. Kaulig Racing is one of the greatest success stories in recent NASCAR history. It's easy to forget the team's only been around since 2016. Kaulig is the owner of Leaf Filter, which originally entered NASCAR as a sponsor for Blake Cook. After a couple of seasons, Kaulig decided to start his own team. Ross Chastain would give them their first win in 2019, and today, the team has 3 full-time cars that could all win the championship this season. And especially with the announcement that they've purchased 2 Cup Series charters for 2022, I want to know, how did Matt do it? How did he build such a successful team so quickly? Well, I may be biased, but I think the penultimate person on this list played a very important part in all that. Number 2, AJ Allmendinger.
I need to call AJ.
If you know me well enough, it's no secret AJ is my all-time favorite NASCAR driver. And I'll admit, the main reason he's so high on this list is just because, like I said at the start, this is just my list. I want Junior to get AJ on his show. Now's as good a time as ever. He's never had this much fun in his NASCAR career, and the ups and downs he's been through make the success he's enjoying right now that much sweeter. You've got the Champ Car stuff, Red Bull throwing him straight into Cup, the breakthrough with RPM, the big break with Penske only to fail a drug test, Penske giving him a second chance in IndyCar, his Cup win at the Glen, and now the move to Xfinity with Kaulig. Like I said, I may be biased, but AJ has one of the best stories you're going to get. So who could possibly be at the top spot on my list ahead of him? Well, here's your answer. Number 1, Kevin Harvick. This is what brings it back full circle to the Jimmy Spencer controversy. Like Spencer, Harvick made some comments about Junior a few years ago that weren't exactly popular, saying he stunted the growth of the sport by failing to win frequently enough as NASCAR's most popular driver.
I think some of the growth in the sport has kind of been, has not reached the levels that it should have because our most popular driver hasn't been our most successful driver. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won the most popular driver for however many years in a row, and he has been our sport's most popular driver, but he hasn't been anywhere close to being our most successful driver. And when you look at other sports, and you look at basketball, and you look at football, and you look at their most popular drivers, they're also right up there on the top of the list as their most successful drivers. So for me, I believe that Dale Jr. has had a big part in kind of stunning the growth of NASCAR because he's got these legions of fans and these, this huge outreach of being able to reach different places that none of us have the possibility to reach. But he's won 9 races in 10 years at Hendrick Motorsports and hasn't been able to reach outside of that. So, it's not. I know that those aren't the most popular comments, but it's those are real life facts that you look up and see on the stat sheet.
Junior said a year later that he still wasn't entirely over Harvick's comments, but in both parts of the Jimmy Spencer episode, he hinted that he'd be willing to get Kevin on the download sometime soon.
It ranks right up there with what Harvick said, and we go over that, and and I'm open to even having him come to the show at some point, whether he'd want to or not, I don't know. But you can say what you want to say about that, Mike. But
probably best I don't.
It's funny. That. I know it's funny for me that you're not over that, and I'm getting over it. I'm glad we had him on, and it makes me much more comfortable with having Harvick on. Where are you at now with that post Jimmy Spencer?
I think I have to be okay with it. Listen, I want to be clear about Harvick. The way Spencer's comments got personal with you, like if it's comments that are just strictly, about whatever it is in his mind, then you would have no problem. But it got personal because he questioned your credibility and NASCAR's credibility. Harvick, listen, first of all, I'm not even a blip on Harvick's radar. So for me to sit here and be like, I'm still mad at Harvick about something, Harvick don't care, and I get it. So anybody that wants to come at me and say that, I get it. No, I understand. Harvick's got a lot of other things going on. I'm not even a blip on his radar. Okay. The only issue I have with it, and I'm still trying to, come to peace, is that Harvick, we were so close to Kevin. I especially felt like we were all close. When he came to this company and raced, I developed so much of an appreciation for him, not just on what he brought to the racetrack, but what he brought off the racetrack in terms of how to,
made our team better.
Do sponsor. He made every corner of this building better. He made you want to strive for nothing short of a win. So, I just, when he said what he said, we had gone through such a gamut of emotions in a year because of the concussion thing. And so much like in 2001, where you're trying to have a healing moment, and you get it when you win that July 2001 race, and somebody comes in there and, kicks you in the nuts just for it just seems unnecessary. I felt the same way that Kevin Harvick's comment, when you've already announced your retirement, you've already announced it. You're on the way out. You're not like, petering around the racetrack at 75 years old, killing the sport, taking all the fans, but, finishing 17 laps down. That's not what's happening. You've announced your exit plan, so it felt like you're throwing rocks at a man's back. And so I took it personal, and again, I took it personal. He don't care, and he shouldn't care. He literally should not care. But Josh Jones was a friend of ours. Kevin Harvick, I felt like was, and then that's why I still don't know if I can get over. I'm just not over it. But you could have him on the show. It's your show.
Yeah.
Well, I would just be, and if I voiced my opinion to him, he'd be like, okay, who cares? Yeah. And I'd be like, you're right, who cares? It's inconsequential, and I don't disagree with that.
I think along with just being able to have that conversation with him, and just talk all about that, what you just discussed. Also, he's such a he's a big part of the sport, champion, successful. He's on the backside of his career, has a great sort of perspective and view on where the sport is and where it's headed. He's knows the business side of the sport really well. So I'd just be curious as to all that, what information, his opinion on things.
So are we gonna get Harvick on the show?
I think so. We can stop talking about it. So we can stop having the conversation between me and you.
That's right. I want to get back where I'm pulling for Harvick and not rooting against him. Yeah. it's exhausting.
I'm ahead of you. There's days when, because I'm such great friends with Rodney Childers, so I pull for Rodney, and that in turn means I'm pulling for Kevin. And I know that Kevin's not all jackass. Right.
No,
I know he's
not.
not just a real shitty person. I think that just every once in a while, like you bump into him, he's going to bump into you twice. If he feels like you did something he didn't like, and he can get you, he'll get you.
But beyond getting the opportunity to bury the hatchet like we saw with Spencer, Harvick obviously shares a connection with the Earnhardt family. He took over Dale Sr.'s ride after his untimely death, and went on to be a Cup champion himself. And not only did he drive for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series, he won for Junior Motorsports 6 times, and is credited by Mike Davis with helping improve the entire organization. Of all the people on this list, Harvick is the one I'm most confident will definitely end up on the download sooner rather than later. And personally, that's the conversation that I'm most looking forward to. So there you have it, a list of guests I'd like to see on Dale Jr.'s podcast. I had a lot of fun putting this together. I was originally only going to make it a top 10 list, but as I started thinking of names, it became clear I'd have to go with quite a few more. I settled on 25, but there's still a few more that I can think of. Hey, if your favorite driver isn't on this list, I'm sorry, I had to cap it somewhere. But let me know in the comments, who would you most like to see on the Dale Jr. download? I'd love to see the names you all come up with. Thanks for watching.